So
I voted every single one of those.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to the Nevada Community School District Board of Education meeting, April 15th, 2024. With that said, I'd like to call this meeting to order and seek approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. Board of Education
Sorry.
meeting, April 15th, 2024. Sounds vaguely familiar.
Apologize for that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Brian, do we have any public comment? No. That moves us into our information, 4.1, proposed building edits. Who wants to go first, middle school or high school?
I got it. I'll just
Okay.
get us kicked off here.
Brian Swiler, step on up.
All right, so we've got handbook edits for both, for the high school side of things, both just the traditional handbook, and then we also have our online learners handbook edits. Some pretty generic things to start off with. The third one down there, our Monday schedule, we will be adding a 20-minute-ish. It's seminar, kind of like a break period in that day. So we traditionally have not had that, but that time will be utilized. We've got some direct instruction for some SEL work that is part of our district 5-year plan that we'll do during that. We've got some additional expectations coming up through district career and academic planning expectations. As Cody will talk about, new programming for my academic plan that we'll be moving towards with the board approval, potentially with Zello, which is a new planning tool that we plan to be using. So that's kind of the time frame that will be utilized for that time. It takes about 3 minutes off of each period and kind of actually shifts our lunches on Mondays back about 15, 20 minutes or so. So it just was a needed, an additional piece. We were gonna add some things in that we felt like were necessary for us to do. We needed to add a little bit of time for that for our staff to get some of those things done. Graduation attire, we talked a little bit about what acceptable dress looks like in this day and age. Kind of lined that up with what's acceptable for our students to wear during our day, and kind of just took out some really, really specific things that we didn't feel like we were following, and were really hard, pretty difficult to enforce. Do you want me to throw that up there?
Your call.
Doesn't matter. I mean, I can
No,
give
your
I can
call.
try, but if you guys have it and you're okay with that, we'll just keep going.
You got a thumbs up.
Okay, sounds good.
Can you expand on the graduation attire just to?
Yeah, so like we used to have in there very specific things. You had to have closed-toed shoes, you had to have pants, you had to have this, you had to have this. There's just a lot of stuff. And what I'll tell you what happens is typically we get to that day and it seems like we spend a lot of our time like walking around and being like, you don't have this, so you need to go get this. And it's like the fight of all fights on that day. And it's just really quite a bit of stress. And I think where we kind of found ourselves landing is 85 to 90% of our students meet these expectations without even like a blink of an eye, right? They meet the formality of the event. And then there's a handful of students that may not be able to meet that event because they may not have the means to, which we would love for them to reach out. And we talk about reaching out in advance, but they don't always. And then there's the maybe 5% that may not meet it because they just may not want to meet it, and it might just be the fight that they were ready to pick that day. And that 5%, I will tell you, creates quite a bit of headaches on that day. And it's a really stressful time for everybody, right? It's a stressful time for our kids. It's a stressful time for us trying to get things ready. So I think that's kind of the premise and why we kind of have shifted away from some of that. These last few years, we've had less and less of those arguments as we've gone. We've just kind of, that's just not the hill that we're willing to die on, if you will. We did keep some things in there that we had added just these most recent years where we kind of clarified, hey, what goes into our ceremony? What kind of cords and stoles and things like that. That still is very specifically for organizations and clubs that have a place in our school. So I think that's that for us, like, I think protects our ceremony a little bit. I think it protects what can come in, and whatnot. We always offer to our students, they can wear whatever cap, gown, stole thing that they would like to for their own pictures. But our ceremony, we ask that students would only wear things that were received through the school district. So, gold cords, silver cords, NHS stoles, FFA cord, Key Club has a cord, organizations and clubs that are, affiliated, that we have approved here at the school, that we have a sponsor for here at the school, that meet during our school time, are organizations that we honor with that. So that's kind of the backstory on the attire for graduation. We added a little bit of language in, the middle school and the high school did, kind of together around use of AI technology, and how that may impact, some cheating, plagiarism things. Schedule changes, we talked about lining up our schedule changes and put some additional language in around the 5 days that we permit for students to make changes at the start of each semester typically, but term occasionally. If I have a block class at the start of term 2 or the start of term 3, I would have the ability to change that out for another block class. But typically that's first semester, second semester. Seminar expectations, we kind of cleaned up some language from that, but really didn't make many changes. Just tried to align to what we feel like we're actually, what we're doing, and then added, we do allow, whether a student is on restrictions or not on restrictions, if it's an activities first meeting of the year, we allow students to go. So this wouldn't happen to Talon, but let's say Talon wanted to go out for tennis, but she was not eligible to leave seminar. On the first meeting date, we would still allow her to go to that meeting so she could get the information and be able to participate in that activity. We just didn't feel like that was a fair thing to hold kids out of that potential opportunity and that just knowledge of what's coming up and the information that's coming there. So activity trips, we added that language in about student parent transport. That was a 2020 addition that has just kind of been a holdover. Not a lot of kids and parents do it, but it is still something that's available. We moved our dance information. Instead of updating everything every single year, we put those things up on Bound and in different places. So we'd like to just kind of shift and move our information over to that location. But our intention would be to keep corresponding dates. This next year it'll be a little goofy because it's a rollback year, so it'll look like it's kind of a week later, but it's just the way that our calendar is going to play out, as you might see or might find. Signs and posters, just that we have an approval process. We noted the board policy number, I think specifically because the board policy has an expectation that it has to be inside of handbooks or listed in handbooks. Leaving the building, the acceptable once per term has been what we've moved to in these last 2 years. It's been really a much more positive change for comings and goings in the office. That's been really positive. We added or adjusted language regarding return to activities during suspensions to link up our in-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions. And then we added some language around like heavy coats, blankets, and blanket coats. We had a faculty advisory meeting, and we were getting, according to some of our faculty, we're just a lot of just like blankets, like just blankets, right? Like without much of a need for it, didn't appear, right? Like some kids would walk in with their blanket, it would be like over their backpack and over their head, and like we just kind of said that's really just, we don't necessarily know that we feel like that's a part of our day. So that was something that we had added. That's probably language that we kind of, I think, stole from the middle school from a year previous. Perhaps, I can't remember if that was in theirs or not. So that's our general handbook, our in-person learner handbook. Any questions on that?
Hearing none.
Online learner handbook, really not a lot of changes. The things that we did change, we have moved to check-ins. So as we've noted in the past, our online learners have a required check-in with a staff member here in the building. every other week. And we feel like that has been a really, really positive change for us to get eyes on students, but then also for us to be able to support them, note things that are coming up. So these last 2 weeks, you might have heard in a conversation about ISASP testing is coming up. Do you know where you're supposed to go, what your testing time is going to be? Seniors might get, hey, here's graduation information that's going to start rolling out and things like that. So we, instead of having the office hours kind of concept where kids could pop on if they wanted to, we've really shifted that more into you will check in with us every other week, and that has created a lot of good positive momentum. Enrollment information in our online learners, we gave a 10-day period to change between online learning and in-person learning and kind of vice versa. So a student could transition into an online set or from online back to an in-person at the kind of a request from some staff, and we felt like an alignment piece, we moved that back to 5 days. If you consider what 10 days would be in a block class for a 45-day period, that's actually quite a bit of time to miss. So we just felt like the 5 days was really the most appropriate way to move forward. Again, office hours we removed from there, and then we had some language in the Q&A portion about middle school academic eligibility information. The middle school has their own version of this that they might work through with students as need be. It's the high school copy, so we just removed that language from it.
I think the graduation part's nice. I know that there was a lot of talk about it last year, kids that were frustrated, especially boys that needed to go find pants. But so just clearing that up, I think will be helpful.
I still think it's like, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and so I still think there's like, it's just really a stressful time to be trying to like fight that battle at that moment. So.
For parents as well.
Yep.
I remember last year, I didn't quite approve of a certain graduate's attire, but I wasn't gonna have that fight that day.
Yep, I understand. We still have some other expectations that we'll talk about too. You know, we still don't, decorate and bedazzle and those kinds of things, but that's my fight for another day. That's one I'm willing to have an argument about, so.
Anybody else? Here's your chance.
I don't know. I'm glad I don't have seminar on Monday, but the rest of them will be fine.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody come on up.
Good evening. I've got the middle school changes, handbook changes for you. Not too many major edits this year, and also many are Dr. Einsweiler and I worked together to form, so you've had an explanation from him, but I'll still walk you through them here. I'll start with page 8. This is probably the biggest one that we are changing in our handbook. One part of this change is we added what we're considering to be a tardy. If you look in the black language there, black letters, it talks about what an unexcused tardy absence is, but it doesn't talk about like what a tardy is. When are we gonna count a student tardy for a class? So we just added that additional definition there for some clarity. And then the other change to this part of our tardy policy is adding an additional tier of response. We found that our tardy policy is very strict. And we're okay with that because we have a 5th grade hallway. So our kids have 4 minutes to walk 10, 15 feet. So there's really no reason why our kids need to be tardy to class. So we're okay with having a strict policy. But what we struggled with was at the 3rd tardy, we were asking our grade level teams to start providing an intervention. We just found that wasn't realistic to be able to be asking our teachers to provide an intervention for that. So that additional tier pushed that to our 6th tardy, and then we're hoping that intervention assists the student in making some better choices before then our 3rd tier of 10 or more tardies results in some additional administrative consequence, disciplinary action for the student to make up that time that they're missing. Any questions on tardy policy? changes. Okay. Bell schedules, trying to continue to operate the same bell schedule as the high school. And also in conversation with our staff, we felt like adding that additional seminar time on Monday was actually something that would be valuable to us. A little bit different than what the high school is looking for, because we don't have like those DCAP requirements in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, but we do in 8th grade. So that could be part of what we cover in 8th grade, some of those requirements, where they start creating their 4-year plan, looking at course registrations as 8th graders. And then we currently already kind of have our explicit instruction for SEL on Wednesday afternoons as part of the lead-worthy lessons within Capturing Kids' Hearts. Wednesday afternoon at the end of the day is a difficult time to keep and hold our students' attention at the very end of the day. So we've had conversations amongst our staff about moving that to be our Monday morning time for grades 5, 6, and 7 as well. Cheating and plagiarism, again, similar to the high school's edit, took some language from the board policy that was just added to provide some reference to AI use. We're seeing that being increasingly used by our students, so we'd like to be able to, although we had board policy, we wanted to reinforce that as well with our student handbook with students as well. Dress and appearance, similarly adding the heavy coat
Stop
blankets.
you on the AI, if you, just quick sidebar, if you have this suspicion and it's proven, what's the directive that the student gets? It's just like, obviously you had this created for you, you did this, it's not your intellectual work product, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, so we still want to hold the student accountable for learning. So we have them come in, we have homework club, one Monday through Thursday after school. So that's been a strategy that some of our teachers have used, that you need to come in for homework club. We also have tutorial time on Tuesdays and Thursdays where students can come in and reassess. So it's been common practice for our teachers to ask the students to redo it using their own work.
Fair enough, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on cheating and plagiarism? Yeah. Okay. Dress and appearance, added the same language as the high school for that. We have had some disruptions to our school year with blankets, just, kids falling asleep under a cozy blanket, that's what we do on our couches. So I've made the announcement during the school year that like, hey, we're not gonna have blankets in school anymore. So we're adding that language. Meal price updates there, just as an update. Posting of information, again, trying to follow that board policy, which states specifically that we need to reference board policy in that section of posting of information. Just only a couple small tweaks in our schedule of courses. We need to, our current 5th grade class is 84 kids, so it's kind of a small bubble, not really a bigger bubble than normal, but we can get those kids through 4 rotations of exploratory since they're small. And next year they'll be 6th graders, so we're gonna move that 5th exploratory back to the 5th grade, where we have, back up to the 100 teens back in 5th grade next year, and we'll need a 5th exploratory. And then rebranding our journalism class to be more of a creative writing class. We found journalism is pretty siloed in the style of writing that our students are being exposed to. So we wanted to expand that into a creative writing class so we could talk about more different styles of writing, poetry, and get some more student interest involved in what they're writing. Suspension, we are clarifying that to be, we've had some irregularities in the consequences that kids get. If a kid's suspended on a Tuesday versus on a Friday, one kid's suspended for, just the Tuesday night activities, but Friday, if it's returned, if we're following the policy of returning back to their classes, then they would have additional consequences on Saturday or any activities on Sunday. So we just tried to silo it to just the day of the suspension. And then we have the authority as administrators to add on additional loss of privileges if we so choose to, in unique circumstances as they come to our attention. So
that has been in times past a rub with some parents when they see the disparities and penalties for virtually the same thing because of the timing. So that's a good catch.
Those are our middle school handbook changes. Anyone have questions for me? All right.
All right, thank you
Thank you
much.
for your time.
Appreciate the audience. We don't get very many. Well, that takes care of our information. Now, we are going to open a public hearing in regards to our 2024 district calendar, and we have published that, posted that. Ryan, has anybody spoken to that? Anything flown through the office?
No comments, no.
So we'll offer the opportunity for the public to address the board at this time.
What were all the ways that it was published? The calendar, the proposed calendar. I know I saw it,
No.
but
You saw it in your board packet.
was that the only place?
Yeah. We don't typically publish until it's approved, just in case there's something changes. We don't want multiple calendars be floating around, confusing people.
Okay.
I swear I saw it somewhere.
That wasn't in any, yeah, I was gonna go there too. It's like one of our publications, Debata. Did you put anything out?
We never have until after the board approves it.
Okay. Well,
I remember having those conversations in previous years about that too. We've always said we were gonna totally publish once we decided.
okay. Just another joy, reason for the joy of having you on the board with us. Thank you. Okay, that said, I would close the public hearing at this time, and I would move us into our action agenda. And our first bit of action will be to move on the aforementioned school district calendar for the 24-25 school year.
The calendar before you is virtually identical to the same one we've had for a number of years now. There's very little variation there. One unique aspect is that the August 23rd, which is the first day legislatively that we can have school, does fall on a Friday. That's happened before. One other time we did start the 23rd on a Friday. It was actually well received by a number of people. We weren't sure how that would go. So we want to get started as early as possible, which then does help us wrap up our school year in May next year.
Everybody looking forward to graduation the week before?
I think so.
No pushback?
Nope, haven't heard a word. I'm set to put out some communication to senior parents and students about just upcoming things in the last, 6 weeks.
Right.
So we'll push out 3 sets of communication. This is the first one. I haven't heard anybody talk about it yet, and so.
Okay.
Wednesday before Thanksgiving, that's new, isn't it?
That is not new. I would say we've done that now for the next year will be the 3rd year in a row, I think, if we keep it on here. We've done it the last 2, right?
Just one.
I think last year was the first.
Last year's
Last year, this is year 2?
This year.
Next year will be year 3.
Really?
Okay.
I think this year.
This year was year 1.
This year's year 1. It's
Next
because of
year will
it was
be-
because of the backed up conferences, and we took the
Oh,
comp day to the
yeah.
following week.
That's
We've done
right.
it
Moving the
dismissal.
comp day from conferences to the following Wednesday, I believe that was a recommendation from our teachers to do that. I was thinking that this was the 2nd year we'd done it, but apparently the 1st.
It should be well received.
It was well received this year, yeah, people appreciated
Yeah.
moving that from the Friday before to the Wednesday.
Anybody else doing that? I mean, we got any neighbors that do this?
I do other districts, I know, I've heard of other districts doing that, yeah.
Well, it's a good idea. I'm just wondering if anybody else.
Yeah.
I can say it helps us in the classrooms too, because a lot of teachers try to wrap things up or finish a project or take a test right before then, so instead of having that day break in the middle with a long weekend, it helps us for sure.
So I need,
I see the end of the first semester is after the winter break, and that's not new, is it?
That's not new. That's when the legislature created we used to, a number of years ago, always try to wrap up the semester prior to the break. But when they legislated August 23rd is the earliest you can start, it makes it impossible to wrap that up prior to break.
Does that present any?
It can create some issues occasionally with our post-secondary students, you know, because they may be wrapping up their, say, their DMAC prior to the break and starting another DMAC class.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And now you're still taking this class in Nevada High School when what is actually DMAC's
You
start
can
the
have
second
four
semester.
new DMAC classes and you're still in your old high school
You're
classes.
still in first
Yeah.
semester, so, I mean, that's been a challenge sometimes for students. There's not a lot we can do about it, but,
Some years are worse than others, depending on how far back.
well,
it goes
just
into.
for my information, what date would we be starting in August to allow us to finish the semester before the winter break, the Christmas break, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. It's been a number of years since we did it, but we were starting more like the 13th of August in that
Virtually a
ballpark.
week.
So almost, you know,
Week
10
out.
days, week and a half, 2 weeks earlier to push that.
So if we were given the latitude, that would be something you would welcome?
Yeah, I think we would welcome it. There is a
Just
lot
looking for-
of discussion.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion at the legislative level this year of changing the date. I don't foresee them changing it to allow us to start prior to the end of the state fair, frankly. But there was some discussion as to making it the Monday or Tuesday after the state fair. Even if they had done that for this calendar, that wouldn't have let us start early enough to really help us with
Finish the
that.
semester?
Yeah, it still
Okay,
would,
well, I just was wondering, give me the.
still would have been pushing it.
Okay.
Yeah, right now it's only about a week that like laps over, so I mean, we just deal with it. I feel like if it was longer than that, I'm sure there would be more of a
Right.
discussion, but yeah. About a week-ish, yeah.
And that was pointed out when that was becoming a legislative topic, whether or not to make the August 23rd a thing. It was communicated to legislators that that would create an issue for some students, but to no avail.
Oh, those legislators. So July 27th to August 3rd is the no activities week, the only week, is that what that
Yep.
is? Okay.
Are seniors held to a different standard as far as the number of days, hours that they have to have?
They are, they're on your original calendar, they can go 5 less days or 30 less instructional hours on your original calendar. And then if there are snow days, then it'd be more than that. But that's, the snow days is okay to forgive snow days for seniors. But your original calendar would keep it within a certain time frame. You wouldn't be able to let them out a month early, so to speak.
You want to get out a month early, do you?
I would love that, but once
What
my
do you-
DMAC's in, I'm practically halfway there.
What is, taking into account the snow days and everything, what is this? Because I suspect, I know this will really come back to bite me if it does happen, but, so, you're smiling too, aren't you? What is the senior's last day
This year,
this year?
we just put it out.
So we'll run, I mean, the last technical day of school that seniors will have would be that Friday. We count that rehearsal day and things like that as a day. We have to get a number of things prepared and ready. So the technical last day, if you have all of your stuff done, would be Wednesday. If you're missing things or items don't get done.
Give me a date.
I'm sorry, that's gotta be May 15th would be the Wednesday. May 16th, we reserve as like a final like makeup day. If there's anything that you don't have finished up, you wrap it up on that day. All of our grades for teachers are due on that day. And that way we can tell if we're gonna have any issues and we need to make any adjustments to the graduation program. And then that Friday, the 17th, is rehearsal. And then we do kind of a fun time in the afternoon with seniors, going and doing something together. And that would be, so that's the technical last day. I would say the last official like full day of school that we're anticipating all seniors at would be the 15th, which is that Wednesday.
Thank you.
It reminds me, that's what I saw, I think on social media, was the
Last
last day for seniors and last day of school.
school, yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything that they see that they'd like to ask about? Well, it is an action item.
Move approval of the 2023-24 district calendar as presented.
Second.
24, 25?
24-25, I was reading, sorry. That's the one I meant.
As you said, I'm like, that doesn't sound
That doesn't sound right. What are we doing?
It's okay, Tom, we're all human. So, we have a motion and a second to approve the district calendar for 24-25 school year with an August 23rd start date. Any further questions of administration? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, we have a school calendar for you next year.
Thank you.
5.2, student software quotes.
All right, here tonight to seek approval for two different purchases. They're in the board packet. Both are 5-year plan purchases for our district. The first one is for Excello. The total for that purchase was $21,736.25. We would like to make a payment right away here before the end of this fiscal year for $13,881.75, which covers the first 3 years of Excello, and then the next 2 years, which would be year 4, year 5. We would then make those payments using district curriculum accounts for the majority of the payment, and then the rest of it would come from the middle school and high school instructional supplies account. And the reason we would do the district portion, or the district curriculum would cover the first 2 years, is this is a new added expense. So just want to give both buildings a chance to kind of accommodate, if you will, any needs that they have during the next 3 years, and then chipping in to cover the expense. Excello is a program that would be taking over our career development plan for each student, grades 8 through 12. Can also add in 7th graders as well. 8 through 12 is mandatory from the state. If you remember from the board meeting in March, I spoke of our current program that we use, which is called My Academic Plan through Iowa State. It's free, and with a free offering, you get a product that maybe not best fits the needs of what exactly it is that we're looking for. We've used it for, I don't know, 6, 7 years, and it's just kind of ran its course. The new program offers a variety of different features that are much more individualized, personalized for each specific student, and we feel will better accommodate our academic plan for each student as they progress year by year through high school to ensure they're ready for anything that comes their way or anything that kind of is within their plan for life after high school, whether it's post-secondary or vocational opportunities. These two are experts in Excel a little bit more than I am, so I don't know if there's anything you two want to add.
I would be really hard pressed to be called an expert in much of anything, but I do think the program is something that we've been looking into since January, so we've been kind of doing some back digging on like what's there. I think things that are exciting about it is we're going to be able to show different pathways for kids. So you might take like a career interest survey of some type. It might share, here are 5 or 6 different career types, but then it may break into, well, that's a career type, but here's a variety of different careers in that particular strand. And then it also like goes in and then breaks down, here's how much academic work is necessary or needed for that plan. So, somebody might see I want to be a doctor, and they're like, well, yeah, great, I want to make X amount of money, that looks awesome. But then you click in and you're like, yeah, but you've got 9 years of schooling. Well, I'm not going to school for 9 years. So it just, I think it really creates a much better picture of maybe you are really interested in a healthcare opportunity. Here are all the healthcare opportunities with the corresponding amounts of education that are required and the amount of, pay that you get. It just really, I feel like is going to align to what we're seeking and what we kind of need to provide for kids at this point in time, particularly as the expectations of that district career and academic planning continue to ramp up, continue to increase. This, I believe, it's going to be a better product than my academic plan, regardless of what it is. So in this particular case, we just think it's going to give us a lot better features and a lot better usability for kids.
Is this something parents will be made aware of, or, at what point do the parents come in contact with this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We got to get our hands kind of into like what the planning pieces of it are, but it's supposed to have a parent portal side so that parents would be able to log in and then kind of like Power School see like what each of their kids are doing, right? If you have multiple kids within the system, where their plans are at, maybe what some of their career clusters are at. Not quite as like detailed as what the student side might see. And so we just kind of we got to get our heads wrapped around like what's our plan and how we want to unveil pieces of it, how do we want to work through pieces of it. In the past, it was like a once a time, like we hit it in homecoming week and that was kind of it. This is going to work us through a much more detailed piece. So we anticipate seeing students engage with it much more regularly. We anticipate our kids utilizing it for reflective pieces much more regularly. Again, that Monday time would be a time we would probably focus on and key in on to do some of that. I anticipate that we would be making families aware of it as we would start the school year because our students really won't even be aware of it until we start the school year. This is going to be sort of our time to get our like I said, our kind of hands wrapped around it, get an idea of what our plan is going to be and how we're going to work through it. So,
Is this something a counselor would be using to develop curriculum for a particular student with a desired career path?
Well, that's maybe a little bit more specific than I am aware of within the program. I will say our counselor will be able to use this. The Zello program does have specific lessons that meet each of the career components of our DCAP, our district career and academic planning expectations from the state. So they do have kind of tailor-made like pathways to get us to what that looks like. We do, I would also say we anticipate utilizing this as it will align and kind of connect in with Power School. So I anticipate utilizing this more frequently for our 4-year plan conversations. So right now we're in scheduling meetings with kids. We just got done with sophomores for their junior year last week. Next week we'll do freshmen for their sophomore year. And the program, My Academic Plan, should be the thing that we return to look at and work through, but it's so cumbersome that it's really hard to get ourselves into it and have it be fluid and work for the kids the way we want it to. In this particular case, it's got enough fluidity and enough movability that we think that that 4-year plan can become a bit more an actual part of their time, not maybe just like I checked that piece off, right? We can kind of get a sense of what some of those things are. So that's what we're excited about with this is just how much more we think we can kind of tap into it throughout the year instead of a kind of a one-time shot.
Any other districts around here or any peers use this and have feedback on their experiences?
Yeah, a number of districts in the state do. There's a variety that use a number of different plans. Gilbert uses this. PCM would be moving towards this. Pella used this. DCG previously had used this. They've gone to a different plan. There's a whole bunch of them. Believe it or not, some of them are actually well more expensive than this is. Cooter is another example, probably the next most popular plan, planning group that's there. It's, I mean, a good deal more expensive than what this particular piece is. Collins Maxwell uses this program as well. So a number of districts do use it. It's kind of, you just kind of got to get settled into one or the other. I think they all have some of their ups and downs. Maybe, if I'm honest, maybe except for My Academic Plan, I think was probably.
Yeah, I'd say majority of districts were using My Academic Plan
Correct.
early on because it was free.
And we were sort of thrust into it, right? We were
Yeah.
told one year, you have to do this, and so everybody scrambled to try to find something, and nobody had anything in their budget to set up and go and grab something else that cost money. And so a lot of people just gravitated towards, this is our free option. And I think they've tweaked it and moved it and done some different things. So like an example would be like one of the pages, like you couldn't go forward unless you like checked something that said you were kind of interested in Iowa State, which it's their program. So, but it like, you know, things like that were starting to become part of it, and we were like, this doesn't feel right. We think we kind of need to maybe just move on from this a little bit. So,
Sounds like a wonderful application.
yeah.
Waiting for that one.
When it's free, you work with what you got. It just wasn't meeting our needs any longer.
And the requirements for the district career academic plan have increased also each year. So with that, we just need a program that kind of meets those needs and assists us in carrying out that plan.
So clearly we'll know after 5 years. This is just a 5-year contract, correct?
So
Yeah.
this doesn't replace or supplant anything that Edmentum was doing.
No,
It's just gonna present it together here for the,
yeah,
yeah, okay.
this would be a completely new expense, yeah.
We just put them together because of budgeting purposes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both being over 10,000.
Well, I get the yellow part, or Zello. So, I want to be correct.
Zello.
Thank you. What's new on Edmentum?
Yeah, so Edmentum, this is just a renewal year for us. So in looking at different prices and plans, they were gracious enough to just continue with what we've currently been paying, just from us being a valued customer, if you will, over the past almost 8 years now. So that breakdown, again, is listed here. So our goal would be, just because kind of knew that this was coming, and this is coming off of ESSER funds. ESSER covered this the past 3 years for us. So knowing that that's coming, just have been able to build up some momentum here in our district curriculum accounts to be able to cover it the first 2 years within this fiscal year ending. Would be able to cover the first year this year with accounts to the district curriculum account, would then be able to cover the total price for the following year in 2025. And then after that, we would split it up again between the district accounts and then the middle school and the high school. 65% at that point would come from the district, 10% from the middle school, because we still have some students utilizing Edmentum grades 5 through 8, and then 25% coming from the high school. So that's where the
How
majority
many
of
total students?
the action's coming.
How many total students use Edmentum?
Under 500. I know that, because that's our max. I would say it's probably about, I don't know, 300-ish maybe at the high school, and then our goal is
300 seems high. I can get like a quick number. We have anywhere between like 45 and 55, and it kind of hovers around there with somebody who graduates or somebody who comes back or something like that. Kids who are fully online and use the program for their full schooling. So that's one aspect of it. If we looked at like course sections and numbers, Edmentum online, I'd get a quick number.
we were about triple that when we came out of
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah, we were.
Oh,
we
yeah.
were
We're almost equivalent of grade level.
Do you
Yeah.
have to have a license for each student that uses Edmentum?
Yeah, so the way that it's done, the numbers are based off of license numbers. Yeah, so as long as we stay under our, I think it's 5.
We have about 130 individual students taking an Edmentum course at some point in time in the second semester.
Okay, just kind of, it's been with us, and I was just wondering on a user basis how much, now I know.
Yeah.
Decent amount. I can say that when kids don't want to take another DMAT, because they know it'll be too much
Right.
work, but they don't want to sit in the library the whole time, they take an Edmentum, because it counts as an open campus period, but they're still getting credit for taking a course.
What kind of class would be an admin class?
What kind of class, sorry, said? I
We have
would say
two-
probably like 70% of what we offer in the high school is an option for students. However, they're not able to take that option, I believe,
Okay, so we
unless
have two different lists.
they're
We have
online.
an online list, and that online list is the full curriculum
Right.
that students could take. And the only thing that they could take in person are things that we don't have an equivalent for online. Our in-person list is probably pretty significantly pared down. We pulled out a number of courses. Anything that had an equivalent, we took out of that as an option, because we believe if you're an in-person learner, you need to take in-person courses and maybe not sidestep around with an Edmentum course. Sometimes kids are able to take DMAT courses that would allow them to get college credit and to meet high school expectations. But for the Edmentum world, it's pretty significantly pared down. So some courses that you might see would be maybe like intro to coaching, marine biology. There's some computer coding courses. There's a med tech or a med term course, medical terminology, a variety of things like that would be available. We also tried to tap into those who are really working with courses a lot. And so we had some real fluff. I mean, it's not as academically rigorous, right? Regardless probably of the course. However, we had some courses that were real fluff about 2 or 3 years ago. And we sat down, Cody, Elizabeth Gant, myself, Lori Stevenson gave us some feedback. And we tried to really pull back on some of those that were just really not worth the time and energy, and really kind of pare down to, these are good courses. They fit a niche. We don't have an equivalent for them, but they're not just I'm just taking that to just get through, right? So that's kind of how we've operated with it in the past few years. I think we're going to look back at that, how many courses we have and what we're offering this year, and reevaluate, since the curriculum has added courses throughout the last few years.
So how are the student success using it at minimum? I mean, if they take an admin class, they're likely, or they do, just pass it?
Typically do well.
Yeah, that's,
Well,
It's
that
at
means
their
you have
own
to do
pace.
your work.
You do.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is that kids get caught up on those grade checks because they just don't do it on time. They don't treat it like it's like,
they take the class, but then they're not following the time.
they don't always follow the due dates, like where it tells you, like you have a guy and he's either green, orange, or red. And if you're in the orange or red, you're in trouble. So if you're in the orange or red by the time you get to the grade check, you get placed on restrictions. So you want your guy to be in the green all the time. I've been in the place where my guy was not in the green, yeah.
This is, Taylor, that was a wonderful explanation. I would explain it to parents the exact same way. If the little guy's green,
Feel
kids
free
do
to
just
shamelessly
fine.
copy, that was good.
Yeah, so I don't know, the course list even from my freshman year, has shortened a lot for us in-person learners, but I don't know, I've taken an intro to theater course and principles of hospitality and tourism, so there are some different courses.
Did you take them out of interest or academic need?
Definitely more of interest, or I didn't want to sit in the library. It's kind of scary in there sometimes.
Great presentation, Doctor.
Yeah, hey, people speaking. I will say Edmentum was a savior for us when COVID hit, for us to be able to just fall back onto that and offer that for students with all the different paths that we had, especially that fourth term of 2020 and then leading into the 2021 school year. So I know we're all hopeful we never have to fall back into that, but just having this in our back pocket was huge for us compared to some other districts that were really scrambling during that time.
Well, it is an action item. We have had a rousing conversation about both facets. Anybody else see anything unspoken to or unasked? Joe's formulating a question.
I just see the amount on the Zello quote.
Yeah, so
Doesn't
this
matter.
quote is for years 1 through 3.
Oh,
So the quote that's in the board packet is just for the first 3 years. Our goal would be, or our plan would be to pay for this
okay, I see it there.
tomorrow,
I see it
if
there.
approved. And then we wouldn't receive an invoice again until the 2027-28 school year. Or 26-27, yeah. Our fourth year of the plan.
Are the prices though for those years locked in at this
They
point?
are, yeah, yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, the next page of this, it's just not in here, is just outlining year 4, year 5.
I have no further questions. Anybody else? Taylor, any more insights you want to share?
I wish there was more language classes back on the Edmentum. That was something I liked, but I know kids don't always pick those up as well. I took an ASL class that I liked on there that I know is no longer on there, but.
So one tricky aspect of that,
Go ahead.
you have to be licensed, we have to have a licensed teacher in the area, so like, we offered French and we had to put an axe to that, because legally you have to have somebody licensed in French to be able to offer it. So that's why.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, I knew that there was a reason
Yeah.
somewhere in there, but yeah,
All right.
that's my only feedback.
The board has spoken then.
I would move approval of the student software quotes to Zello and Edmentum for the 5-year proposals in the amounts of, I had it here, sorry. Sounded much better. In the amounts of $13,881.75 for Zello for the first 3 years, and Edmentum for the total of $63,135.40 for a 5-year total, correct?
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to approve the student software quotes from Edmentum and Zello with a 5-year timeline plan. Any questions left, or can we take a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go, Doctor. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the conversation, filling in the gaps. Talon, good save. Thank you for helping the board through that one. Well, brings us to our, must be spring, Robbins, and we have to increase lunch prices.
We're asking for the board's approval on meal prices for next year. We've done this a little bit later some years, but we are looking to open our registration process in May this year instead of waiting until July. So we would like to make sure we've got this in there. The state price calculator is suggesting to us that we adjust it upward by 25 cents. We've done 10% increases for the last 10 years. We're not comfortable increasing it 25 cents. We also know that our nutrition budget is in a much better place than it was for many years. So we're recommending our standard increase of 10 cents. For lunches, we are not recommending any increase for breakfast. We did have a 5-cent increase on milk this year that we just ate. We're gonna have another 5 cents milk increase next year. So that's 10 cents over last year, this year and next year. But we're only suggesting a 5-cent increase for that one. So no increase for breakfast, 10 cents for lunches, 5 cents for milk is the recommendation.
Because we have the ability to absorb it in the nutrition fund balance, will the state not come back and say you have to increase more than 10 cents?
Right. The only reason they did that to us before, like I believe one year the board wanted to do a 5% increase, not a 10%, or a 5 cent, not a 10 cent. That was because we were in debt to the general fund, and so that's what dictated it.
And we're
because
not there anymore.
we're not there anymore, so they won't make us raise it more.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, I think that is a unfortunate thing, and you only have to spend a little time doing this job to realize that this is an every year thing. And it's not because we need the dollars, but do we know at what cost, you know, if we were doing the buy down, kind of like we do with insurance, we know the cost. What has anybody done the math on what the cost is to the nutrition fund to do these buy downs? Or any speculation there? And I don't think it's big dollars, but it's just like, and if there's not, there's not. If you haven't done it, it's kind of a poor time to ask you to do that math, but I figured there is a cost to the nutrition fund. I was just wondering if there's a swag on what it might be. And if not, it's an action item.
I'll make a motion to approve the meal prices for 2024-25 as presented to the board tonight, with which represents a 10-cent increase in lunch and a 5-cent increase in milk.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the proposed increases for the 24-25 meal prices, reflecting the district's willingness to buy down some of the actual costs. Any further thoughts or suggestions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Consent agenda.
What is the RTI Summit Conference?
We took a handful of teachers down. RTI is, it's an older acronym called Response to Intervention. Now we would typically use MTSS, which is Multi-Tiered Systems of Supports. So you might hear that language come in and around our work with ESSA, our designated status, in some targeted places. So that conference was really about checking what we had in for supports for students from a instructional tier 1, which would be our universal instruction, so things that all kids get throughout their day, to our tier 2, which is I need a little bit more support from that, to our tier 3, which is I have an intensive need, and would need some supports that would be greater than just a typical general student. And so it talked about a variety of different things at that conference. So we had spent some time down there. Meg Frieders, our instructional guide, Mallory Kane, one of our learning team coaches, and then Justin Keithy, who is our MTSS lead in the high school, went to that conference in February. It was really, there's some really positive things that we came back with that were already kind of working with our MTSS team on, and kind of evaluating where we're at in terms of what we've been able to do so far, what our structures look like in the high school, to meet those 3 tiers for students academically and social, emotional, behavioral health wise.
So there were four
Yep.
attendees?
4 people that went, yep.
And the one item that Dr. Einsweiler had Mark know, he did find the receipt for that one, so that should be a yes for that conference.
Double stack oven for the middle school.
Yeah, that's, I think, one of the things we talked about with, was it at retreat? Was the nutrition budget and some of the things they plan to use
yes,
their
yes,
additional
okay,
funds
thank
for,
you.
yeah.
For
Some equipment, they've had some equipment needs, so.
Sure. Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry, I'd forgotten that, but in this case. So, Brian, I think this is you, closing an idle non-fiduciary account. What's that word? Oh, you don't have page numbers, I'm sorry.
I'm not exactly sure why that continues happening, because I did put page numbers on it.
Yeah, and so I would like to tell you that because I missed your paper. What's this? Go.
Well, we had 2 accounts that were sitting in the fiduciary, non-fiduciary fund that it had no action for several years. Both of those accounts were closed to the elementary fundraising account, so they could use those funds for their purposes. The 80659, I had absolutely no clue where that money came from, and I just gave it to the fundraising. The 33280 was an account that had been opened for way back when the art department at the elementary wanted some display items to post their art on.
So these dollars went to general fund?
Yes.
Okay. Not a bad thing. How's our new meeting room?
Good, it's coming along, we're waiting for some furniture right now.
We go see it after the meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Any surprises when they were tearing stuff out and?
No, I don't think so. We had a couple of the doors that came are not the right doors, so those have been reordered.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll notice a gap underneath the one door. It's not right, so, but no, I think gone pretty smooth for them.
All looks well on the bill side to me. Brian, it looks so much better on my computer in color. How are we doing?
Oh, really well. There's been no unexpected expenditures that I've seen. Revenues may be down just a little bit from what I budgeted because of Medicaid isn't coming in as strong as it has in past years. But that's just because it's being used for fewer students this year.
Okay. And somebody just refreshed my memory, tell me the renewal rate of our insurance was what now for next year?
Health insurance,
Yes.
we're planning to use the partial self-funding to buy it down to 10%.
Okay.
Say it was 14. Yeah, 14.
We didn't have a lot of use, or just, it is what it is?
Yeah, we have some pretty high claims.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what's driving it.
Yes.
right. Okay. See, we got some contracts to be signing here later, middle school teacher, fifth grade science, and elementary teacher, kindergarten. Good,
Good news.
that's good news. It's April, you got people. Good. Where are these folks coming in from? Where's your teacher coming in from?
Ty Adams, Collins Maxwell currently.
Huh?
So his wife Jill works at Central. They live in Nevada. So, former principal at Colonesco
Correct.
and Ankeny Elementary.
They changed their structure so that they wanted a superintendent that would also be elementary principal, which that's when I had to leave Colonesco.
Sounds like we got a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Good, congratulations.
Nevada grad, possibly kindergarten teacher.
Oh, yeah? Class of?
17 or 18? I think 17.
Anybody want that one? 18, I wasn't here for 18.
Anticipate being able to fill all the positions you got to fill for next year?
Fingers crossed, right now it's looking pretty good. I just had a resignation last couple of days. I didn't get in this packet. That we are advertising for, actually. Chris has got some interviews. It's Tricia, second grade teacher? Third grade teacher. Yeah, so we have a third grade teacher that's not planning to come back, and so, but we had a good number of applicants for that one. I think that's the only one we have hanging out there right now, so. So you'll likely see that on the next board agenda, that resignation and that hire will be on the next one.
How's our baseball team gonna look, Joe?
It'll be exciting. I think the upward trajectory will continue.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
The core of boys that have been playing together a while, I think can play well together.
How's the field? Been out on it?
Haven't been on it, haven't heard any reports.
Anybody else see anything, or you have any questions of administration about anything there in the consent agenda, or any changes you'd like to see made or pulled out to discuss? Hearing none,
I move approval of the consent agenda.
thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as placed before us tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
7.1, board member comments. Your turn. Time to shine.
Ooh, I don't even know.
You know how the sports are doing?
Girls are at track tonight.
Where?
Durant.
Okay. How we doing?
It's the girls' track team. I'm sure they're doing what they normally do.
You'll be a politician someday.
I don't know.
Thank
know,
Doctor. Feel free.
Boys are at track, it looks like.
Yeah, feel free to use some of the technology.
Yeah.
Other than
We have
that-
a messed up schedule all week, but we'll be good.
Okay.
I get to sleep in as late as I want, so that's great.
Wait, why is it messed up?
Because it's Iowa Assessments Week, seniors don't have to come in until 10. So,
You're welcome for that.
Yeah.
I love that, yeah.
Give credit where credit's due over here.
Lainey Hamilton was singing the Best Day Ever song today because she realized she doesn't have to take them either, so she thought it was the greatest day of her life.
Well, you tell good stories.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, Dr. Einsweiler's not gonna be in a meeting here for a while. Got any last questions for him?
Not really.
Any suggestions as you join the ranks of alumni for Nevada High School?
I don't know. I feel like if there's a problem, I normally just say it. So I think I'm good.
Well,
We have drama awards this weekend. Drama and speech awards
where is that being held at?
at Taupe.
Okay,
We call it the Academy Awards, and they make it
big deal.
fancy or whatever. But yeah, so I guess we'll find out this weekend results for Iowa High School Musical Theater Awards and see who's gotten awards or if we're going back as a cast or whatever.
So this could ultimately end up possibly with some of our actors down at
Yeah.
Civic Center.
Mm-hmm. I did hear through the grapevine that there was a few people that would be going through that process, but they've not announced anything yet. I think they just finally got the packet today, so they won't tell any of us till Sunday.
This is open to the public.
I would assume, yes. She never said it wasn't, so yeah. We just have our little dessert thing in the comments ahead of time, and then it's in the auditorium after that.
Okay. Well, are you up for anything?
I mean, not like state-wise, no, but
Okay, but
just our own school ones, yeah.
I wish you luck, break a leg.
Thanks.
Oh, I passed around a plaque here earlier today. Dr. Einsweiler, Dr. Asmus, and me were asked to attend Josie Kelly's
Yeah, and it was outgoing officers for the FFA, state FFA convention. Each of the outgoing officers were asked to, or were recognized, and then in turn thanked their sponsor, superintendent, board president, high school principal. So it was nice. Josie gave a very nice speech today.
Impressive.
Very impressive.
She is up for state FFA president tomorrow, and Cooper said he would jam it out there as soon as he knew he would inform the district. So we got to think that Josie's got a good chance, and that would be a nice little honor. I don't think Cooper's ever had that in his program. as many things as he's accomplished. I don't think we've ever had a state president, so wishing her well. What else? Anything? Tom? Dr. Gray?
Nothing for me.
Brian? Still no tears?
No.
How many more meetings you got?
Cody just made me count it up, it's 5.
You got 5 more meetings.
Need a tear sheet.
I like the one they used on Major League.
That's a completely different type of.
Yeah, the point being, it was the same thing.
Okay.
We won't be using anything like that.
Picture you use underneath that.
Well, fine, fun haters. Brian, because I think at this point,
You have to see.
on April 15th, what is the remaining balance of our snow removal budget?
I think you're safe, huh?
Was it like 10 years ago?
In May, we had,
I know, I remember that, I remember that.
It was 2013, May 1st, 2013.
oh,
Steve seems to know the date pretty
the
specifically.
dates are not-
When you cancel school on May 1st, you
You
remember
wrote
it.
that down.
Seared in his memory.
That is a unicorn.
I would take another snow day.
Shocking, just shocking. So you get to sleep in every day this week?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. Okay.
It's probably good timing because this week and next for athletics, that's just something every single night.
Yeah.
There's 2 weeks in April that seem to just sneak up and then kill you.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah, it's-
While Brian's looking that up, we do have a special meeting here in 2 weeks from tonight in regards to setting our levy budget, or levy.
I will not be here.
Okay. We need quorum here, Doctor?
Yep.
Yep.
So it's a 1 agenda item,
Correct.
slam dunk, hold your breath, vote. High five, into the parking lot.
The board just approved $2,015 to be paid this meeting for snow removal. Must have been that real late snow. Total spend is $37,088, but 46,000 budgeted.
Woo-hoo. Right. That said, take
Motion to adjourn.
line reader.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Good meeting. Thank you for watching in.